The graveyard, the suicide, the swamp water. This childhood drink has gone by multiple names.
And we're going to show you how we're going to dress it up for Halloween. So stay with us. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Phil.
And today we have the legendary childhood drink. Well, at least in our childhood. And it goes by many names. The graveyard, the suicide, and swamp water. Phil, what did it go by in your childhood?
Well, when I was a kid, it was the suicide. I'm from South Carolina, and this was a drink that I would have. It was a post-Little League game drink. We'd all get a free drink at the concessions, and then somehow somebody, I don't know how it came about, but they're like, hey, let's put all the sodas from the machine into one drink. And that's what everybody, and it was gimmicky, whatever. Kids just want to try it. And of course, I found out later, that's the thing that was, everybody, there was different names for it. And to you, it was what?
The graveyard. But there's still people that, in this area, if you say suicide, they're going to know what you're talking about. I think swamp water is the least common.
Yeah, I only knew that from looking it up. And so I don't even remember if I liked it all that much. It was just the thing you did because other kids were doing it. So let us know if you had a different name for it, but I think those are the three most common ones. So we decided we are going to have it again now for Halloween. It's got Halloween sounding names, so we figured let's do that. Yeah. And I haven't had it since then. You were telling me you've had it quite frequently.
Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah. I guess I'm kind of a big kid, so I've always done it. And basically, like we said before, you mix all the different sodas together. Yeah. Sometimes, you can experiment, and if you put the sodas in different order, then that may change the flavor. And
to be clear, there's no specific recipe for this.
Right.
It is literally just you go into a fountain soda machine, and if it's Coke products or Pepsi products, whatever it is, you just go down the line and equal parts, mix them up.
So let's go ahead and bust out our creations.
Here's what I got. Now, what did you end up getting?
So I ended up mixing, and in this order, Sunkissed with Dr. Pepper, and then Coke, and then Sprite.
Okay.
So Coke Zero to be exact.
Now, I happened to find a place, surprisingly, that had both Coke and Pepsi products. So it went from left to right, Coke to Pepsi. But it started with Barq's root beer. It went Coke, Diet Coke, Dr. Pepper, I think maybe Diet Dr. Pepper, Sprite, Sprite Zero, Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Diet Mountain Dew, and last but not least, orange soda, which was the wild card. I was like, this is going to be interesting. Yep. Because even back when I was a kid and we did this, we didn't have that many varieties. Right. Which sounds like I'm really old, but I'm not. It's just at these concessions, they were limited in that machine. That was a really small machine. So now, we thought for Halloween, now this is just a regular suicide or graveyard, but for Halloween, what if we make it a little bit of a more spooky concoction?
Yeah, spooky.
So what we have here in our cups
is dry ice.
That's right.
So we're going to see how this reacts to this little concoction here.
Now this is a fun way for you to kind of fancy up your Halloween drinks for your parties. Disclaimer, dry ice, you do not want to ingest it.
Yeah, don't eat it.
And don't touch it with your bare hands. Use gloves or tongs. I was able to get it about 10 pounds for $12. Not bad. I didn't need that much, but that's the bare minimum.
It's a lot.
I've always wanted to play around with some dry ice in drinks, and now we're going to do it.
Yep.
So
let's try it out. So we're going to pour it in here.
We have not drank these yet at all.
We're probably going to make a big mess. Ooh, look at that already.
I love it.
Yep. Wow.
I love the sound.
See, it almost looks like it's boiling, but it is not. It's just super cold, and it's that, what is this, like frozen?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. We don't even know what it is.
It's science stuff, okay? Look it up. And you don't need ice because it really chills it down.
Yep.
I love the sound. Let's listen for a second. It's like we're making some sort of potion.
Some sort of potion.
To turn someone into
chemist.
A wizard person.
I think it's safe for me to add a little bit more in there.
Go ahead. Let's just pouring off there.
There you go.
So it's a simple effect, but who wouldn't just find this so enticing at your party?
Right.
Just adding a little effect.
Kids love it. So, another kind of like little tip here is
a little ring. Look at that.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. So if you do it halfway, you're obviously going to have like more smoke, because see how I don't have as much as you, and so I got more smoke, it looks like, in mine. So that's definitely kind of cool.
Some bartenders, in order to avoid lawsuits from patrons who don't heed warnings, they'll encapsulate the dry ice chunk into something like they make certain things for like teas and stuff like that, a mesh that you put it in there. As long as the drink hits the actual dry ice, that's where the effect comes from. But you can, as long as you're careful, you can wait till this stops bubbling, then drink it, take your pictures, whatever you want to do for fun, or just be very careful with it. It sinks to the bottom. So
it's all the way down the bottom there. I'm going to go ahead and drink it.
Ready?
Yep. Cheers.
That is... What flavors are you getting the most in yours?
Sun-kissed. Sun-kissed and the Dr. Pepper is what I'm getting the most.
I'm getting like a muted root beer. Like a muted and a little bit of the Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I do it quite a bit, especially when I be gone, overseas, like on deployments. I don't know, for some reason it gives me a nice little taste of home. I remember good memories of, getting done with baseball after you win the game. You all run over, and then I'd say, I want a graveyard. And then
I want suicide. What?
But I had that. But then we had this one mom. She's like, literally, as soon as we walk up, she's like, no graveyards. And I'm just like, what?
Happened to us too. They suddenly stopped wanting to serve it, and I was like, why? It didn't make much sense. The cups didn't change size. Whatever.
I think it's just they're scared they're going to mess it up or something. I don't know. There's no messing it up. You just combine it. Equal parts. But now, so the other thing that we wanted to get with, right?
It is Halloween.
It is Halloween. So
by the time
we were just going to rank our top 5, starting with the 5th, the least scary movie. So now, disclaimer. So I'm really picky when it comes to my scary movies, which then like horror buffs may see my list and be like, man, for somebody really picky, you pick some really sucky movies or whatever. But I'm just, I don't know, like I'm just not that into, like I'm into a really good scary movie,
right? But
it's gotta be something that's like believable, which some movies in there, you may think contradict that or whatever, but I like something that's believable, because to me that's more scary. I get more scared if I know that that could actually happen.
Yeah, so. To me, horror is sort of it scratches a certain itch with people. So the standards by which what somebody might like as their favorite horror movies might not quite match up to the same as someone who, when you're speaking of objective cinematic terms, if that makes sense.
Right.
Excuse me. So, meaning what a movie that is a really good movie might not be a really good horror movie might not be the scariest movie for you, or vice versa. So, I have some picks that they shouldn't be controversial, but I've heard in the past that people, because of the genre they're in, they mix genres.
Right.
So, you'll see when I get there. But so let's start with our number 5.
Okay, what's yours?
I think for me, I'm going to put my number 5 as, I'm going to go 28 Days Later.
Okay.
That one is, if that's a Danny Boyle, quote unquote, horror zombie movie, more rage zombies, fast moving zombies. I don't remember what year it came out, but there's a very specific part in that movie where he's walking around the city, empty city, goes into this church, sees a bunch of bodies laying on. He's up on the balcony, and he calls out. And then there's this part where one of the zombies turns and looks up at him, and it freaks me out so much. And it always has. But anyway, that's my number 5.
Okay, so number 5 for me is House of a Thousand Corpses.
All right, it's a Rob Zombie movie.
Rob Zombie, yep.
I've never seen any of his horror movies.
Yeah.
I know he's even done some Halloween. He's done at least 1 or 2 Halloween movies.
Yeah,
later
and
on.
I haven't really seen them. I basically watched it because like my roommate at the time was watching them, so I watched them, and then that movie just has a really I don't know, it really makes me mad.
It makes you mad
because I'm just like, why are these people doing this stuff to like all these people? I'm like, what are they so mean? And
you like to be enraged by your horror movies.
Yeah, so I'm like enraged. I really hate the the main characters in there. Like the killers, whatever you want to call them.
Now this isn't one necessarily that's like there's from what I gather, I've never seen it, but I'm trying to think if we should avoid spoilers or not. These are movies that have been out for a while, most likely. They don't get what's coming to them, most likely, right?
Right, yeah. It's just...
reason, the same way that the slashers don't necessarily get what's coming to them.
Right.
They always.
So that's number 5. So what's number 4?
Number 4, and I'm just going to say heads up, most of mine, I watched I like watching and exploring horror movies of varying quality, but... a lot of them I don't justify being on my list of favorites, and so my favorites are going to be some pretty obvious choices. So number 4, quote unquote, might be controversial as a pure horror movie because it's more thriller too, but Silence of the Lambs.
Okay.
Number 4.
All right.
What else is there to say about it? Great performances, just really well done. And I would say that's a pretty believable standard for horror,
right,
if you want to go that way. But
yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Haven't seen it, and I watched it recently, probably about a year or 2 ago. I'm due for a rewatch. So.
Yeah. Okay, so number 4 for me, The Blair Witch Project, the original.
Right.
And
never saw that sequel.
Here's why. So like, back before the internet, before it could spoil all that.
Yeah.
The producers of that movie had me, which I was like in 8th grade at the time, completely convinced that this really happened.
Yeah.
Like 100%. I was like, it literally terrified me. Like I could not go to sleep at night until like I watched it the first week it came out. I couldn't go to sleep at night without making sure every door and every window was locked, and that everything was taken care of. My parents reassured me that everything was good. I was 14, keep in mind.
I don't think...
go ahead. Until the MTV Movie Awards, and I saw the actors and actresses, and guess what? This really wasn't a documentary or whatever. So that's why I liked it. Then after I saw that, then it completely ruined the movie for me. I never want to watch it again because I'm like, okay, I know it's all fake now.
Now it's hard to really stress for those who were born pre-social media how much easier it was for viral marketing like that to work. Yeah. I'm not saying that everybody in the world was going, "Oh, this movie is real," but a lot of people did have that feeling, and the effect, the way they promoted it was like that. They even showed was that when the first modern? I'm gonna be out of my depth here, but horror movie viral marketing campaigns where they showed the audience footage. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
them screaming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which has been done later. I think Paranormal Activity did it too. And currently, which I have not seen it, and I'm not really all that interested in it. There's a movie called Terrifier 2 that's in theaters. That they're doing the similar sort of marketing, which has been done for years, where they go, audiences are vomiting during this movie and all this stuff. And it's like,
okay,
maybe one person vomiting, but it's all marketing. Just keep that in mind. It's marketing. Right. So don't get brainwashed by. Right. I mean, it's just go and have fun at the movies if you want to see it. Just don't be like, oh, am I going to vomit in this movie or freak out and faint? It's still a movie. It might be a little grosser than others, but whatever. Anyway.
So that's number 4. So what's number 3?
Number 3, my top 3 can vary. I'm going to go with The Shining.
The Shining? Okay, yeah.
Again, some of these choices are very obvious, but it's The Shining, based on a Stephen King book and then Stanley Kubrick's movie changed quite a bit. I'm not an expert in how much changed from the book, but I know it's different. But either way, great performance by Jack Nicholson and iconic. Not much else to say about it. It's The Shining. So if you haven't seen it, check it out.
So number 3 for me, which was a sequel of my number 5, which is The Devil's Rejects. And that's the one where it really ticked me off. Like I really hated him.
You're like, they're still getting away with it.
Yeah, like I really hate him. It's just, it's super realistic. It's just humans, white trash humans that are essentially kidnapping people and torturing them and killing them.
My understanding is that's kind of Rob Zombie's like filmmaking aesthetic is real grimy, like white trash, even with his like Halloween movies.
Yep. So it really made me mad, but it is kind of satisfying to me because they get what they deserve.
They got it. They finally got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
They finally get it. So that's my number 3.
All right. Number 2 might be another one that's a little, if you're a pure horror guy or a person, whatever. Alien. Alien is one of my favorite movies in general, but I put it up there. It's sci-fi horror. You can't really separate the two from each other. You can say, oh, but that's a sci-fi movie. It's a sci-fi horror movie.
It is, yeah.
And so it's not that shouldn't be that controversial. But anyway, it's great, iconic again. Just real. This and my number 1 I have a similar thing of being real claustrophobic, and you'll see when I get to number 1. But Alien. My favorite of the Aliens movies as well. So go ahead.
Number 2 for me is The Village by M. Night Shyamalan.
The Village.
Of course, like
bad color.
Yeah, exactly. Bad color.
Yeah.
That was one of his earlier like big I guess budget movies or whatever. It
was kind of before people kind of started turning on him, which they did.
Right.
Eventually.
Well, it was before like basically everybody knew that there's going to be a big twist on all of his movies, but. It kind of, I don't know, it kind of, almost, even then, social media really wasn't around much, but when you kind of think about it, you can kind of relate it to, maybe nowadays what people are doing. Like, granted, maybe people or society is not making everybody like live like it's, the 1700s or whatever. And then that, there's a boogeyman out there to want to keep the people in line or whatever. But I don't know, it's almost like he was, showing, speaking out against, something, so I don't know. It was well done, but the only problem with it is that, after you see it once, then nothing's like much of a shocker,
That's the drawback to his style of doing a big twist, which to be fair shouldn't necessarily be like, if there's a big twist in your movie and that's your thing, that shouldn't necessarily be like a thing that knocks your movie too much. It's just people need to understand this. It's at its best when you're seeing it for the first time.
Right.
Same way, that's kind of like how The Sixth Sense works, which is probably my favorite of his movies, but of course, you got people say, well, now that I know the twist, I don't really enjoy it. It's like, well, it's still well made.
Yeah.
And so, but that one, I think, and maybe some of his earlier ones, last a little bit longer because they're the quality-wise. And then later, whether he leaned into his own thing of like, well, I got to have a twist, it's me, or what. There's a lot of his I haven't seen. I haven't seen The Happening. I haven't seen Old. That's his most recent, I believe. Anyway, there's a bunch I haven't seen, but yeah.
So
decent filmmaker. Just
yeah.
People turned on him when he kind of, let us know if you think people were too harsh with M. Night, or he got exactly what was coming to him. He's a director of movies. Anyway, it's harmless. But all right, so let's get to number 1.
Yep, number 1. What's your number 1?
Number 1 for me, again, I could have been interchangeable with Alien, but this one's a little more, it's The Thing from 1982, I believe, with Kurt Russell. Great. Usually I don't necessarily enjoy, it's a John Carpenter movie, don't enjoy the whole shape-shifting, mistaken identity trope, but that one's done so well. A lot of great characters in it, great actors in it, and then it just feels so, you're stuck there in the ice, confined to this place, you don't know who to trust and all this stuff, and some really disgusting, great creature effects. The Thing. Check it out.
Yep. So number 1 for me, the movie that scared me the most, Phil. because it was realistic, right? The first Scream scared the living bejesus out of me because it was so realistic, and because I was 14 or 15 whenever I saw it. I didn't see it on a release date, but there was a radio station, Mix 104.7 in our area. I ended up winning midnight tickets to it, so my dad took me there, and we watched it, and it scared me because it was so realistic, and I was like, I know 2 people at my school that I think may actually do something like this, I mean, good, super realistic. All you gotta do is wear a Halloween costume, like not the Halloween, a Halloween costume, and then, stab people, and then there you go.
And that ghost face mask became iconic.
Yep.
Yeah, they made a bunch more.
So,
haven't seen the newest ones.
No, they, it kind of got a little out at, probably too many of them made.
Yeah, a premise like that, it's at its best originally.
But the very first one, it was good, well done, had some good comic relief parts in it, after that. But
it was an early take on the, meta take on the slasher. They're kind of like examining the slasher genre, and but yeah, that's a quality pick.
Yeah, but the very first kill in that, just to this day still got me, scared me, but because it was so realistic. When Drew Barrymore looks out and sees her boyfriend tied up, and then he stabs him from the back, just bad. Got me.
Got the Scary Movie take of it too.
Yeah.
Carmen Electra running through.
Yeah. But I don't know, so that's the list or whatever. Let us know in the comments, what your list is. If you want to flame on me and let me know how bad my list is, then
we didn't really pick too many of the classic slasher films. Your Jason's, Freddy's. They're I've seen a lot of them, but to me, that's not necessary. They are entertaining for what they are, but they don't necessarily. I don't really know how to put it. They don't do it for me the same way.
Right.
And I saw that a lot of them kind of late in life. So by then the stuff had been done better by other movies. So I remember seeing it because I watched Nightmare on Elm Street relatively recently, and I'm like, I mean, Freddy's effects are kind of cool, and Robert Englund's really good at it, but also he's kind of goofy. Yeah. So I was like, whatever. Anyway, so you can roast me for not liking all the classic slashers if you want, but that's our bubbles had died down for a while. You get probably a good 5 minutes or so of bubbles. Yeah. Really cool effects. So try that out for your next party, or just do it for fun.
Yeah.
Let us know what your top 5 horror movies are in the comments.
And don't forget to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, and then also hit that bell notification so you get notified of our next video whenever they pop up. So we try really hard to do it Saturdays. They become available at 8 a.m. Doesn't mean that you have to get up at 8 a.m. on Saturday, but they do become available to watch on that. We just missed this past Saturday because
things happen. Life gets in the way.
Yep, life got in the way. But anyways, we got these coming to you.
So happy Halloween, people.
Be safe.
Be safe. Don't
check
be
your
stupid.
candy.
Don't fall for those people are putting weird stuff in candy.
Yeah.
Things that happens every year.
Check your candy, all right? And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.